14.2 Designing Exercise Programs, Ellis Stevens. Client consultation. During the client consultation, I did a lifestyle questionnaire and PAR-Q tests on the client, and from the results taken from both the questionnaire and the PAR-Q tests we carried out, we can see the client on average consumes 500 to 1,000 calories per day, along with usually having 3 of his 5 a day. He drinks more than 3 litres of water per day and only has 0 to 1 fast food meals per week. He normally does 0 to 2 hours of exercise per week, this exercise being high intensity such as running. He has no record of any previous or current mental health issues or injuries. He doesn't smoke, however he does drink 1 to 2 units of alcohol a day and has done marijuana in the past. And he normally gets 6 to 10 hours sleep. Client profile. His name is Brandon Chapman and is 16 years old. He has previously smoked marijuana and drinks around 1 to 2 units of alcohol a day. He has no previous or current family issues, has no responsibilities outside of college, and gets around 6 to 10 hours of sleep. He consumes around 500 to 1,000 calories a day, along with 3 of his 5 a day. He drinks more than 3 litres of water per day and only has 0 to 1 fast food meals per week. He has no previous or current mental health issues or physical injuries that could be a barrier to exercise. And he likes to do HIIT training but doesn't like Zumba. For the targets of the client are specific to the fact that he plays tennis to a high level and wants to mainly increase his aerobic endurance. Along with this, he wants to try to improve his flexibility, muscular endurance, muscular strength, body composition, and speed. The main muscle groups he wants to improve are the upper arms, biceps and triceps, flexor and extensor muscles of the forearm, trunk muscles, abdominals, obliques, etc., lower body muscles, gastrocnemius and soleus muscles, etc. Any improvements made will be measured at the halfway point of the 6-week program, as well as at the end. They will be measured by retaking the test and then comparing to the original test results to see if any improvements have taken place. For example, redoing the yo-yo test. Week 1. On the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday, there will be no session, as in both the morning and afternoon, the client is already going to have tennis training sessions. On the Friday, he only has a session in the morning for tennis. However, he won't have a session in the afternoon for a few weeks, as it is important to have rest sessions/days, especially for this client because he does training nearly every day of the week. On Saturday, he would also have a rest day from any sessions as, again, the rest days are important to have to allow for the micro tears that occur in the muscles after exercise to heal, and this is what makes the muscles grow and increase in strength. However, on Wednesday, he already has a tennis session in the afternoon and also has a morning HIIT session. For the HIIT session, he will be doing maximal cycling, and for this we will find the maximum speed and make them cycle at this speed for 15 seconds with 45 seconds rest, doing 8 sets of this. These things will increase over time, so for example, by week 6 there will be an increase in duration or more sets. They'll be working in between 80 to 90% of their maximum heart rate, as this is the anaerobic zone and will improve the client's ability to be able to work without oxygen. This is followed by a 2-minute rest and then 30 to 40 seconds of kettlebell swings with 10-second rest periods, and 3 sets of this. The weight of the kettlebell will be 16 kilograms, so that it isn't too heavy to not be able to do. They should be working at around the 16 mark on the RPE scale when doing the kettlebell swings, as this shows that they are working hard and will mean that the muscles are under strain and their strength will increase. These exercises could be varied by doing things such as rowing or running, and use other weights for arms, for example doing dumbbell swings or medicine ball twists. The warm-up for this will be a light cycle for 1 minute to warm up the relevant muscles in the legs. This will be followed by walking lunges and leg swings, as this will help to ensure the muscles are stretchy and will be less susceptible to injuries. These will both be done for 20 seconds on each leg to ensure both legs are warmed up. For the arms, the stretches will be shoulder stretches and forearm stretches, so that when the client is doing kettlebell swings, their arms are less likely to be injured from the movement they are doing. These stretches will be held for 8 to 10 seconds for both arms to ensure both arms are warmed up and ready for exercise. The cool down for this session will be a light cycle to cool down the muscles in the legs, and while doing this they should be doing arm swings. These should be done for around 30 to 45 seconds. After these arm swings are done, they will do the same forearm and shoulder stretches as in the warm-up, but instead will hold them for 30 to 45 seconds on each arm. The reason for doing these exercises is because the maximal cycling is a conditioning exercise, as it keeps up the fitness of the client so they are able to stay fit enough to compete at top levels. However, because they already train most days, they receive a lot of conditioning through this, and so this is a slightly lighter session, although still hard, to try and avoid injuries. This will also work mainly on the anaerobic conditioning of the client, and so they will be able to work anaerobically for longer. This could be helpful at the end of rounds, as they may have to start working anaerobically, especially if there is a long rally. Kettlebells will be done to help increase the strength and muscular endurance of the client, which will be especially powerful, as it will mean his tennis strokes will be more powerful, and he will be able to keep this power up for longer. The reason for rest periods in between sets is so the client doesn't overload, which would cause an injury. Week 2. In week 2, the days he will be training are the same, and so in his HIIT session he will be doing maximal cycling. They will find the maximum speed and make them cycle at this speed for 20 seconds with 45 seconds rest, and 8 sets of this. These things will increase over time. They will be working in between 80 to 90% of their maximum heart rate, as this is the anaerobic zone and will improve the client's ability to be able to work without oxygen. This is followed by a 2-minute rest, and then 35 to 45 seconds of kettlebell swings with 10-second rest periods, and 3 sets of this. The weight of the kettlebell will be 16 kilograms, so it isn't too heavy to not be able to do. And while doing these kettlebell swings, they should be working at around the 16 mark on the RPE scale, as this shows that they're working hard and will mean that the muscles are under strain and their strength will increase. The maximal cycling is a conditioning exercise, as it keeps up the fitness of the clients, so they are able to stay fit enough to compete at top levels. However, because they already train most days, they will receive a lot of conditioning through this, and so this is a slightly lighter session to try and avoid injuries. It would also help to increase their anaerobic endurance, and so at the end of games they'll be able to work anaerobically for longer, which will be especially helpful if there's long rallies. Kettlebells will be done to help increase the strength and muscular endurance of the client, which will be especially helpful, as it will mean his tennis strokes will be more powerful and it will be able to keep this power up for longer. The reason for the rest periods in between sets is so the client doesn't overload, which could cause an injury. The justification for doing these exercises for week 2, the progression will be the increase in amount of time they have to do the exercises for, with a decrease in rest time, as this will progressively overload the target muscles, and so they will strengthen. Week 3. Days he trains on week 3 will also be the same. However, the exercise he will be doing will be changed. He will be doing maximal running, and before the exercise we will find the speed on the treadmill that is their maximum speed, and this will be done on a 2 incline at intensity of 80 to 90% of their maximum heart rate. The client will run at their maximum intensity for 4 minutes, before then having 4 minutes of doing a slow walk on the treadmill to allow the client to recover and be able to go again. This will be repeated 3 times, so the client does 12 minutes of high intensity running. After this, the client will have a 5-minute break where they can do some light jogging or walking on the treadmill to allow for their legs to recover. After this, the client will do sandbag lunges with the swing of the sandbag. The client will use 15 kg sandbags and will do as many as they can within 30 seconds, doing one lunge on one leg and then swapping and so on, and then be given a 15-second rest. The client will do 7 sets of this, and the client should be working around the 16 to 18 marks on the RPE scale, as this means that they're doing as many as they can, and so the effects of doing this exercise will be evident, rather than not working hard enough, which would mean the exercise would have no to very little effect on the person. These exercises could be varied by doing things such as rowing or cycling, and using other weights for arms, for example kettlebell swings or medicine ball twists. The warm-up for this will be a light jog or walk for 1 minute to warm up the relevant muscles in the legs. This will be followed by walking lunges and leg swings, as this will help to ensure the muscles are stretchy and be less susceptible to injuries. These will both be done for 20 seconds on each leg to ensure both legs are warmed up. Along with this, they will do 15 seconds of opening the gate on each leg. For the arms, the stretches will be shoulder stretches and forearm stretches, so when the client is doing sandbag lunges with swings, their arms are less likely to be injured from the movement you are doing. These stretches will be held for 8 to 10 seconds for both arms to ensure both arms are warmed up and ready for exercise. The cooldown for this session will be a light jog to cool down the muscles in the legs, and while doing this, they should be doing arm swings, and these should be done for around 30 to 45 seconds. After these arm swings are done, they will do the same forearm and shoulder stretches as in the warm-up, but instead will hold them for 30 to 45 seconds on each arm. The reason for doing these things is that the maximal running is a conditioning exercise, as it keeps up the fitness of the client so they're able to stay fit enough to compete at top levels. However, because they already train most days, they receive a lot of conditioning, as this is a slightly lighter session to try and avoid injuries. This will also work on not only the anaerobic conditioning, but the aerobic conditioning of the client, and so they'll be able to work anaerobically for longer, as well as aerobically for longer and at higher intensities. This could be helpful at the end of rounds. They may have to start working anaerobically, especially if there's a long rally, and because tennis games go on for a long period of time, the aerobic capacity of the client has to be high to keep their performance high towards the latter stages of the game. Sandbag lunges with swings will be done to help increase the strength and muscular endurance of the client, which will be especially helpful, as it will mean his tennis strokes will be more powerful and he'll be able to keep this power up for longer. The reason I've changed the exercises that the client is doing in this week compared to week 1 and 2 is so that the client doesn't get bored of doing the same thing continuously week on week, and so I provided some variation. It also means that some different muscle groups will be used, and so there'll be an increase in strength of different areas as well. The reason for rest periods in between sets is so that the client doesn't overload, which would cause an injury. Week 4. On week 4, I will also be adding a session on the Friday afternoon. This will be a light flexibility session, as this will act as a recovery session for the sessions they have done in the week. For the normal Wednesday session, they will be doing maximal running. Before doing the exercise, we will find the speed on the treadmill that is their maximum speed. This will be done on a 2 incline at intensity of 80 to 90% of their maximum heart rate. The client will run at their maximum intensity for 4 minutes before then having 4 minutes of doing a slow walk on the treadmill to allow for the client to recover and be able to go again. This will be repeated 4 times, so that overall the client does 16 minutes of high intensity running. After this, the client will have a 5-minute break where they can do some light jogging or walking on the treadmill to allow for the legs to recover. After this, the client will do sandbag lunges with a swing of the sandbag. The client will use 17.5 kg sandbags and will do as many as they can within 40 seconds, doing 1 lunge on one leg and then swapping and so on, and then be given a 15-second rest. The client will do 7 sets of this. The client should be working at around the 16 to 18 marks on the RPE scale. This will mean that they are doing as many as they can, and so the effects of doing the exercise will be evident, rather than not working hard enough, which would mean the exercise would have no to very little effect on the person. These exercises could be varied by doing things such as rowing or cycling and using other weights for arms, for example kettlebell swings or medicine ball twists. The warm-up for this will be a light jog or walk for 1 minute to warm up the relevant muscles in the legs. This will be followed by walking lunges and leg swings, as this will help to ensure the muscles are stretchy and will be less susceptible to injury. These will both be done for 20 seconds on each leg to ensure both legs are warmed up. Along with this, they will do 15 seconds of opening the gate on each leg. For the arms, the stretches will be shoulder stretches and forearm stretches, so that when the client is doing sandbag lunges with swings, their arms are less likely to be injured from the movement you're doing. These stretches will be held for 8 to 10 seconds for both arms to ensure both arms are warmed up and ready for exercise. The cooldown for this session will be a light jog to cool down the muscles in the legs, and while doing this, they should be doing arm swings. These should be done for around 30 to 45 seconds. After these arm swings are done, they will do the same for arm and shoulder stretches as in the warm-up, but instead will hold them for 30 to 45 seconds on each arm. The reason for this is that the maximal running is a conditioning exercise, as it keeps up the fitness of the client, so they're able to stay fit enough to compete at top levels. However, because they already train most days, this will be a slightly lighter session so that they avoid injuries. This will also work on the anaerobic and aerobic conditioning in the client, and so they'll be able to work anaerobically for longer, as well as aerobically for longer and at higher intensities. This could be helpful towards the end of tennis games because they can keep their performance higher towards the latter stages of the game. Sandbag lunges with swings will be done to help increase the strength and muscular endurance of the client, which would be especially helpful as it will mean as tennis strokes will be more powerful and be able to keep this power up for longer. The reason for rest periods in between sets is so the client doesn't overload, which would cause an injury. For this week, I've increased the amount of time they have to do the exercises for, as well as the weight/intensity, as this will progressively overload the muscle groups that are being worked on, and so there'll be an increase in strength, as they're having to work harder compared to the first time they did the session. For the Friday session, they'll be doing flexibility training. To start the session, I will ensure the client does a good warm-up, as if they didn't do a warm-up or didn't do it properly, it could easily cause them to pull muscles and get injured when doing the stretches during the main part of the flexibility training. This warm-up will include a light jog to warm up the leg muscles. While doing this, they will do some arm stretches such as shoulder stretches and arm swings. Each stretch should be held for 8 to 10 seconds before doing it on the opposite arm. They should be running the whole time they're doing these stretches at a slow pace. After warm-up is done, the flexibility training will start with the shoulder rolls, and he will do these for 25 seconds. The next stretch will be the standing hamstring stretch, which will be held for 50 to 60 seconds before swapping legs and holding for another 50 to 60 seconds. The next stretch will be the supine leg stretch, which entails the client laying on the floor with one leg bent and foot on the floor and the other in the air. While holding the leg in the air with their hands, the client will rotate their ankle in a 360-degree circle. Repeat this rotation 3 times for each angle. Finally, the client will do the inner thigh stretch and will repeat this 3 times for each leg.